All right, before we get to Wayne Carini, I do have to make one quick announcement. Please join me online April the 1st on my YouTube channel, the Collector Car Podcast YouTube, to join me while I live stream a new episode of Guess the Hammer. So this is where you can join me and guess what some cars are going to hammer for during a live auction. So just join me in the chat. You'll find out what car we're talking about. I'll have a couple guests with me, and you can guess what the cars are going to sell for. And I will give you a shout out on the live stream. So again, that's YouTube channel, the Collector Car Podcast, April 1st from 1:30 until 3 o'clock Eastern. All right, I'm very excited to have Wayne Carini on the Collector Car Podcast today. Wayne, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you were on here before covering your ultimate garage, your top 10 cars, and that's a lot of fun from a guy such as you that knows so much about cars. And I know I'm going to ask you 10 questions here. 5 are personal, 5 are about cars. But before we get to that, I know I'm dying for an update on Chasing Classic Cars. So why don't you give our listeners a little update as far as what you've been up to?
So we did 18 seasons of Chasing Classic Cars, and we're moving on from that. We're moving to our own TV network, which is Speed Vision. Bob Scanlon, myself, and a few other guys revived the brand Speed Vision and got the copyright for it. So we're moving forward, creating some content. We have over 600 hours of library of different shows right now that are being streamed on Roku, Fubo, and different streaming networks. We just signed a deal with Amazon TV. And we're looking at another linear network to show all of our episodes and many different other, so we want to get the old band together, as they say. So the guys that have been off the air from Motor Trend and people whose contracts are running out with Motor Trend's sort of running out of gas is the way I look at it. And we're happy to pick up the pieces and move forward with our great new network, Speed Vision.
I love you're bringing back Speed Vision because that's right when I was really getting into cars. And so, man, I was on that channel all the time. So that's really cool to see you bringing it back.
Well, it's a brand sort of like Coca-Cola, it's like Coca-Cola disappeared, and suddenly somebody found the recipe for Coca-Cola again, and we're bringing it back. So we're so excited about it. And, this is a growing thing. We just started this about 7 months ago. And so we got to take baby steps first. We did an A and B round of funding, and we got all of our funding together so we can move forward. And it's going to be a blast.
Now, is this going to be Chasing Classic Cars 2.0?
No, so Chasing Classic Cars brand is owned by Discovery Channel.
Okay.
My production company that I wasn't a part of, other than I was the guy that they filmed. They partnered with Discovery, and Discovery really owns the brand. So we're moving forward with On the Road with Wayne Carini. We're going to be, it's going to be somewhat similar to Chasing Classic Cars, but not exact. It's sort of like On the Road with Charles Kuralt, which is a show on CBS that I loved years ago, where he went around and just interviewed people about their lives. And that's what I'm doing. We've already started filming that. I'm doing a podcast with Jay Ward, talking classic cars, and we're about to go live with that. And I've got a couple other TV shows up my sleeve where other people will be doing them, but I'll be the producer and the director of those TV shows. So moving on, Chasing Classic Cars kept me away from home about 190 days a year.
Wow.
And making appearances and doing all those things and airplane rides. And I'm trying to cut that down to about 120, 130 days a year on the road and be a little bit more at home with my grandchildren and my family and enjoy my life a little bit more.
No, that's
not that it's great. Not enjoyable.
Well, I was wondering when I saw you at Amelia, I know that you didn't have a film crew with you. So I knew I wanted to ask you first thing about what was going on. So a lot of stuff there. So what are some approximate dates just so our listeners can all right, when is your, not necessarily in stone, but like it's a TV show 6 months away? Is the podcast a month away?
Yeah, the podcast should be about a month away doing live broadcasts. We'll be doing a live broadcast at Pebble Beach this year as part of their seminar series. And then the show we're starting to film. We want to get about 7 or 8 episodes under a belt before we start airing it. So that'll probably be in the fall of this year. And that's the way it looks. I mean, Speed Vision's growing. So everybody stay tuned. Streaming services, Roku, Fubo, all the different streaming services. I don't know what they all are, but Amazon TV, it's going to be everywhere.
Wow. Okay. No, that's really exciting. So That's really cool because I think everybody loves you chasing classic cars, collector cars, everything that you've been chasing for so many years, and we don't want that to end. So it's great that you, I guess, have a little bit more control maybe in the destiny of the show and what you
Yeah.
want to do, right?
You know, it was funny. We've done over 200 episodes of Chasing Classic Cars. It's the longest continuously running automotive television show that there is. Mike Brewer, Wheeler Dealers, they come and they go, but we had 18 full seasons of Chasing Classic Cars and over 200 episodes. It's the most popular automotive TV show in the world. Now, in the United States, there's other ones that are more popular, but worldwide, we're in 100 countries, and my voice is dubbed in 38 languages.
Wow.
It's very, very hard to conceive all that, but yeah, pretty proud of that.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It'd be fun to watch. Have you watched any of the episodes where it's been dubbed over just to see what it's like?
Oh yeah. So they dub me. You can still hear my voice, but it's about a 2-second delay, and then suddenly, the person that's speaking in my behalf comes on.
That's hilarious. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to get to these 10 questions, but first, give me your Amelia Island weekend recap. I know we ran into each other a couple times. What was your takeaway? I know it was a little bit different than a normal year.
A little bit different, but still pretty much the same. I mean, I enjoyed myself seeing all my friends and being there. The car season had just started. I had not attended Scottsdale this year. I had some other things going on at home. So I decided not to go. And so I went to Boca first. That was the week before Amelia. And that sort of got me, little steps first. And then bang, you hit it hard. I judged this year, which is I think it's my 14th year of judging at Amelia. So that's kind of fun to be able to do that. I showed an MG airline coupe. So that kept me busy. And then out in front of the hotel was my Type 51 Bugatti Persang, which is great. John Bothwell, that represents Persang, borrowed it again this year to be able to show it. And to have your Bugatti Type 51 in front of the hotels and be able to jump in it at any time and take it for a blast down the street, it makes the car show all that much more special.
Yeah, I saw you. I think it was last year when you just got it tearing in and out of one of those hangar parties in it, man. That was fun to watch. That was cool.
Yeah, it's really great, and people love that car. So it's a great experience. And then of course, going to the car show itself and seeing Saturday. I mean, that place was so packed on Saturday. It was amazing. I think their overall total was something like 30,000 people for both Saturday and Sunday combined. That's a lot of people. And
that is a lot of people, yeah.
And so to see some changes, but not a lot, not huge changes. And I think it's good in some respects. I wish that the awards ceremony would include the runner-up in class, and they do it a little bit differently. And then I think that their award winners, the first in competition, the best in show competition, best in show elegance, were perfect choices. We had the Voisin from the Mullen collection. And then of course we had the number 21 250 LM that won Le Mans.
Yeah, and can't get much better than that.
No, part of the Canetti Nart racing team car. So I think two great choices for best in shows.
Yeah, no, that's really great. My one big regret is when you're out there, I'm showing you my little hypo Mustang I found last year at the Amelia. I didn't get a picture of you. That's one question my wife had asked. You don't have a picture of Wayne in front of your Mustang? I'm like, it didn't even cross my mind. Sorry.
I saw you driving and past us. We were standing on the side of the road. You went blasting past us. So we were getting off the bus coming from RM, and you zipped by us. So yeah, it's a great car, man. What a find.
Can't believe I found it during Amelia Island Car Week last year. Things are still out there, so that's good.
Things are still out there, and it showed that you have persistence and patience like I do, and it took you a little bit of time to get it out of the guy's hands, but you got the job done. I love those cars. It's one of my favorite cars. A K-Code Mustang is by far one of the best cars made.
Well, I want to step up to the GT350. I don't know about a 65, but maybe a 66 one day.
Yeah, well, I've got a 65, and I don't regret the day I bought it at all. I mean, it's just and not because of the value of the car, because it's probably doubled since I bought it, but yet just the way it drives. It's really a fantastic car.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, let's get to these 10 questions, or else this will be a 10-hour podcast. All right.
Right.
All right. Now, you correctly pointed out that my number 10 question was a repeat. So I do have a surprise question at the end. So get ready for that. All All right. So every other one, first one's going to be a car. The second one's going to be personal. So what was your very first car?
1953 Chevrolet four-door sedan. That was the neighbor's car. It was parked in the shed with two flat tires. And I mowed the lawn, and I asked how much he wanted for it. It was Mr. Acanero. And he was an older gentleman, and he said, "Well, it's not for sale, but if you mow my lawn all summer, I'll give it to you."
Oh, wow.
So I mowed the lawn for him all summer, and every week I'd go, and of course I'd pump the tires up. I'd sit in it and pretend I was shifting. I did everything in the world. I was 12 years old at the time, and he gave it to me at the end of the summer.
Now, is this a situation where the car did not move and you mowed around it every time, or did he drive the car
No,
constantly?
no, it was in the shed. So it'd been a car that a lot of the people, when you own land in certain areas of the country, you just when the car just doesn't go anymore, you park it.
Yeah.
And that was the case with this. The muffler had fallen off, and rotted out, and he was, the brakes were starting to lock up, I guess, is what he told me. So he parked it. We were able to drag it out with a tractor, put it on my father's trailer, bring it up to the shop, put all new brakes on it. Of course, I cut the muffler off because I wanted a straight pipe. We
Sure.
had a farm. I grew up on a farm of 300 acres, and it was a fruit farm. So a lot of roads all going up in between the apples and peaches and pear trees. And so it was my lot car, and I got to drive it all around. 12 years old, being able to drive your own car was pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. That's great. All right. So now for a personal question, what is your favorite family memory?
Oh boy, I think that's a very tough one. I think more than anything, it's a present type of a thing. I have a grandson who's 7 years old, and I think the best memory I have with him is when he was 5. I asked him what he wanted for his 5th birthday more than anything from his pop-up, and he said, "I want to go for a ride in the Pierce Arrow." So we have a 1916 Pierce Arrow touring car, beautiful car, model 38. And we're driving, and he looked up at me and he says, "Pop Up, this is my favorite car you own. I love this car." Now, we own Ferraris and Mustangs and
Yeah.
Corvettes, and it's just a little bit of everything muscle. But here he likes a 38 model Pierce Arrow. And I said, "Well, Connor, it's your birthday today. Happy birthday." So I gave him that car when he was 5 years old. And it's the best thing probably ever done, because that's all he knows how to talk about now is that car,
Oh,
and
wow.
driving it and being able to ride around in it. So it's a great memory for me. Just that one day. Of course, I got many, many different memories with family.
Sure.
My family means everything to me. So, but the grandson getting into cars, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool, especially a Pierce Arrow pre-war.
Yeah,
That's really building the foundation for, he's going to love cars the rest of his life, especially if you're
that's right.
starting with that. Oh, that's
That's
cool.
right. Yeah.
All right. Now, if you could have only one car for everything, what would it be?
1960 250 short wheelbase.
That was easy.
It's real easy. I mean, I love that car. I've restored 8 of them over the years. I've never owned one, but I've had the opportunity to drive them, to restore them. And I think for an all-around car where you could drive that car to the racetrack, you could put some tape on your headlights, you could win races, not just compete. You could win with these cars, and then drive it home. You could go to the grocery store. You go anywhere you want to with that car. It was just a grand touring car, and but very competitive, and a car that slides very nicely. You go in a corner, you can get into a drift, and it's a very controllable drift. I remember watching Bobby Rahal drive his at Laguna Seca, and
Mm.
he had that car sideways constantly, just in a power slide all the time, and it's just the most beautiful thing to watch in the world.
Yeah, and they're just beautiful cars to start with, and you could fit a few bags of grocery in the back, tray if you
Yeah,
had to, right?
a few. Yeah,
A
yeah, yeah,
few, a few.
yeah.
All right. Well, this is along those lines. What's the best gift you've ever received? Obviously, it's not a 250.
Well, I mean, you say gift, and people can think of a tangible item. I think my greatest gift was the knowledge that I gained from my father and his uncles, very knowledgeable people, and then all the other people I've run into all over the years. They've given me the knowledge and the drive to succeed in life, and I think that that's the best gift I could have ever received from anybody.
So that brings up an interesting question. So you and your grandson, great story, great connection, great way into the collector car hobby, you know, and owning a car. What was your story with your dad? Like, what year did your dad turn you on to cars, if it was your dad initially?
It was. So my father was the founder of the Model A Ford Restorers Club in 1951, the year I was born. And
Mm.
he had fixed a Model A up for a local farmer and took it to a car show, and they said that he couldn't take it in because it was just some old used car. Of course, this is 1951,
Right.
1930 Model A is just an old used car. And Packards and all sorts of brass cars were in there, Thomas Flyers and stuff, and they just looked at that little piddly Model A and they said, you can't come. So he on the way home, he was with a friend, Bill Hall, and he said, Bill, I'm going to create a car club that they can't come to. And it was the Model A Club. And they said, well, there is a Model A Club. He says, well, I'm a Model A restorer. We're going to call it the Model A Restorers Club. And so I was automatically in. My father restored cars for a living when I grew up, and I had no choice, because when I got off the bus every day, I rode my bicycle up the road 3/4 of a mile, and I
Yep.
worked every day and on
Wow.
weekends.
Yep.
And then, of course, when we weren't working, we went to car shows. So I grew up in it. When I graduated high school, I went to college to become an architect, and I found out that it wasn't for me. I ended up graduating from Central Connecticut State University Art Education. Tried that for about 6 months, and that wasn't working very well for me. I wanted to be a college art teacher, not a kindergarten art teacher, and therefore I went back to work for my dad in 1973, and here we are.
All right. So, a budding artist.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Oh,
I did a lot of metal sculpting. Hung out with a guy, Fred Jones, was a very famous metal sculptor, and also loved cars. Friend of my dad, so I go to the junkyards on Sundays and Saturdays with him and pick parts up and then weld them together, and became somewhat of a unique artist with metal sculptures all over the place.
oh, that's really cool because I'm a wannabe artist or failed artist, maybe. And then I also studied architecture, and I said that's not for
Oh,
me too.
really? So I went.
So,
I won the Hartford Home Builders Association Future Architect of the Year when I was in high school,
wow.
and I got accepted to Pratt Institute and went down to Pratt. Couldn't stand it because living in New York after living on a farm where we didn't lock the doors, and now I'm living in Harlem, with 10 deadbolts on the doors, and being able to walk to classes, you'd have to have 5 or 6 of your friends with you to be able to get through without getting mugged or something. So I came home real quick. I'll tell you, I think I was there 7 weeks, and I just turned around, came home, got on the train, and I was home.
My moment of clarity was when I realized I was good, but not that good. My buddy was really good, and such a small percentage actually design stuff. Usually,
That's
you're the
right.
guy figuring out where the outlet goes or the light switch, and I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. And I knew I want to be the designer, so I decided to change gears. So it worked
One of
out
my
well.
buddies, Klaus Schmidt, when I was in high school, he went to Pratt, and he got a job being a technical draftsman at a shipyard. They're not even close to being what he wanted to
Yeah,
do, but that's the path that he found himself on.
very interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Now, this next question, you might have already said the answer. I'm curious to see. What is your ultimate dream car? So this isn't a car for everything, but your answer still might be the short wheelbase 250. So what is your
Well,
ultimate dream car?
so the 250 short wheelbase is a very practical, cool car, and it's probably my ultimate favorite car, all around favorite car. But an 8C Alpha,
Mm, yeah.
especially with a Pininfarina Cabriolet, Lawrence Oriana has one, and I just love the car. I've done some work on it for him, so I think that would be my ultimate car to own.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to do a podcast episode where it's the trifecta, the F1, the GTO and that car. Those are
Yeah,
kind of like the trifectas across the whole automotive world. So,
right.
all right. What is your favorite song, band, or type of music?
Oh boy, I like all sorts of music. I grew up in an era where, the Woodstock generation, and so folk music was cool. I really like a band, Little Feat, Lowell George, just a fabulous musician and songwriter and director of so many other great bands. He did a Shakedown Street with the Grateful Dead. He was the head of that, and so I like them. The Mahavishnu Orchestra with John McLaughlin. I got to meet him once
Oh,
and
wow.
went to one of his shows backstage. I just love all music and all musicians. I'm an opera. I love opera. I love jazz. I love everything. But just as a really good time, album, Dixie Chicken, Little Feat. I think that you can't beat that real good boogie music.
All right. Now, geographically speaking, I think you're within driving distance of Woodstock. So did you go? And if you didn't, why not?
We were on our way, and it was pouring rain, and we were riding motorcycles, and we got maybe about 2 hours away, and I said, "This is ridiculous," and turned around and went home. That was it. So the intentions were good, but in the end, I'm sort of glad we didn't go. It turned into be we had a few friends that did go, especially classmates in high school, and I wasn't into taking drugs or anything like that. And I guess that maybe was a deterrent too. I was glad I didn't go and have to put up with all those other floating people.
Did you have a tent on the back of your motorcycle? Or
we did. Yeah, we had
Oh,
we had
okay.
tent, sleeping bag. We were ready to go.
So
But
if
it
you
was
have,
pouring rain out.
yeah,
Just
if you have a
big
picture of
deterrent.
you in 70s garb, please send it and I'll throw it
Oh,
up.
I will. Yeah. I had a beard down to the middle of my stomach and a ponytail down all the way to the belt line in the back. So yeah.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, you could tie
yeah,
your beard to
ride
your.
motorcycles that way. Rode bikes for years like that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'd love
Yeah.
to see a picture. All right. What is your most embarrassing automotive moment? In addition to this, did it happen while filming your TV show?
No, it didn't happen when filming a TV show, but I was showing a client's 750 Monza Ferrari at down at the Cavallino show, and they of course they want to hear the engine run and see all the gauges work and that stuff. And I went to start it up, and I had not poured enough gasoline in the car, and it was out of gas. So
Right.
they give you 5 minutes to correct any issues, and so I hightailed it, and that was oh gosh, that's got to be close to 30 some years ago, and I ran to the trailer, got the can of gas, and came back and poured it in. And the judges came back, heard it run, saw the gauges, and that was it. But pretty embarrassing moment when the judges are all hanging around your car and you're vying for one of the best competition cars at the show, and it doesn't run because
Yeah.
the idiot forgot to put some gas in it.
It's not like you're at the local cruise in or your local whatever show. You're at the best of the best with one of the best cars ever, right?
That's right. That's right. There's been lots of those, but that was super embarrassing at the time because I was just getting a reputation of being a really great Ferrari restorer, and all of a sudden I felt terrible. Of course,
Right.
we didn't get any points deducted, which was fine, and still didn't win, but that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Now, what is your favorite meal and why?
Spaghetti bolognese or
Oh,
mustacholi. So a meat sauce style sauce. My uncle used to make it. It was called mustacholi, and there was carrots in it, and onions, and all sorts of vegetables, as well as pork and veal. Just a fabulous sauce. So yeah, still to this day, if I go somewhere and they've got bolognese, that's what I have. I
wow.
don't eat as much as I used to, though. I cut it into a quarter size, and that's all I eat.
You're making me hungry here. All right.
Yeah.
All right. We got two more to go. What is your proudest automotive moment?
Well, it's a two-part question. One I can say one of my proudest moments is the 365P Ferrari, the monoposto, the center steering car.
Yep.
The triposto, I should say. I restored that for Luigi Chinetti, and I got to drive it on the lawn at Pebble Beach with my wife on one side and one of my best friends on the other side. And I thought I was pretty cool driving that car on the lawn at Pebble Beach, sitting in the middle of the car. We also stored that car for Mr. Chinetti at my garage at my house, and I used to take my two daughters out with child seats, one on each side of me, driving around town in that car. So, yeah, that was a pretty proud moment. I think the other one, and I'd be crazy not to mention this, is that I'm very proud of our Chasing Classic Cars show. I lucked out in meeting Jim Ostrowski, who's the head of the production company, because of an article that was written about me in the New York Times. And he called me the next day, and it took off like crazy. We didn't think we'd get one season out of this thing, and here we are, 18 seasons later, and over 200 episodes. I'm very, very proud of that.
And I feel like based on everything you have going on right now, a year from now, that answer will be different, because I think
it might be
everything you got going now is like quite a mountain you're climbing. So that'll be really cool to see it come to fruition.
And another thing too is that I haven't changed. I mean, people say, "Oh, geez, you seem like a normal guy." I say, yeah, well, so what? I mean, TV. I guess TV gets to people, being famous, and it doesn't get to me at all. It's just doesn't bother me at all. My
That's great.
focus is on my family and my business, and then the other stuff comes later.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, the last question, which you do not know what it is yet, but looking around behind you, I see a lot of cool stuff. Some classic headlights, a little not diecast, but a really cool car, some posters. So if you had to give everything you owned away, what would be the last item to go?
As far as tangible items,
Tangible items. Dogs don't count.
Oh boy, I think right now probably the Shelby GT350.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I look around and we're supposed to be selling some cars and not buying anymore, but it doesn't happen that way. So um, it, it's sort of like asking someone what's your favorite child in the family, or what's your favorite grandchild, and it's just you can't pick a favorite. So um, I'm a hoarder when it comes to things sometimes, and I love different things. As you can see in the background, I've got some wood lights and some E&J headlights. I've just chased those for years and finally got them. That's a spin dizzy that's in the back there. That was given to me by Eric Zausner, and Eric was the authority on spin dizzies and wrote a big book about spin dizzies. And I did him a favor once, and he said, "How much do I owe you?" I said, "Eric, you're a friend of mine. I don't collect money from friends for doing simple favors." And so I've got 4 of those spin dizzies from Eric's generosity of repaying me. That's the way he repays me. So
Now, those ones that have the little gas engine that spin around
yes,
on a tether?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
tether cars. So between Eric and I can't remember the other gentleman's name, but there spin dizzies were brought back to life actually with those guys. Eric wrote a beautiful coffee table book about spin dizzies, and it's funny. He published 1,000 of them, and every one he wrote in, so number 1 of 1,000. Instead of saying it's the first one, it was just 1 of 1,000. People say, "Look, I got Eric's first one." I go, "No, you didn't really read the way it's written."
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Unfortunately, we just lost Eric. He was a great hot rodder and just the greatest guy in the world.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you wanted to cover on the Collector Car podcast?
Well, I want to thank you for your podcast and all the information that you give us. I actually, out of the clear blue, I read one of your, and you do a newsletter too. So I mean, I enjoy that very much, listening to you as well as reading your articles, and being part of RM is really great. I appreciate everything you do for them. That's the auction world is a very unusual world at the present time.
Yes, it is.
So, but everybody's doing okay, and RM will move on and be bigger and better, as well as Broad Arrow and David Gooding and Bonhams. I mean, there's plenty of space for everybody in the world. So hopefully everybody will get along and things will be great again.
I'm sure we will, and I think you're just like me. I just want to go there for the people and the cars. I'm kind of on the the outside of everything, so it's just like I want to enjoy the cars.
I explain to everybody, it says, "Well, what do you think of this?" And I say, "I am Switzerland. I don't want, I'm even. I don't know. I don't want to know anything about the politics."
Right. I'm right there with you, buddy. So, all right, Wayne. Well, thank you so much for being on the Collector Car podcast.
See you, Greg.